The dragons once ruled the skies, giants of fire and thunder. They looked down on every creature, calling themselves the firstborn of the stars. And among them, humans were nothing, weak, fragile, crawling things that burned easily under dragon flame. For thousands of years, dragons mocked humans. They saw human wars, human greed, human fear, and they laughed. To them, humanity was a failed creation. But one day, something happened that none of them expected. In the southern mountains, a young dragon named Varix was sent by the Dragon Council to watch over a captured human city. The dragons had conquered it easily. The humans fought back with old steel and broken courage, but the battle lasted less than an hour. When the smoke cleared, the dragons laughed again. "See," said one elder dragon, "even when they fight, they die begging." But Varix was not laughing. He watched one human kneeling among the ruins, his hands trembling. Not with fear, but anger. That human's name was Elias Kane, a soldier who had lost everything. His family, his city, his future. Still, he stood before the dragons, broken sword in hand. The other humans had fled or died, but Elias didn't move. Varix flew closer, his golden scales shining like suns. "You defy us?" he asked in a voice that shook the ground. Elias looked up, blood on his cheek, eyes full of fire. "No," he said. "I pity you." The dragons roared with laughter. "Pity us?" Even Varix smirked, but something in those human eyes stayed with him. That night, Varix returned to the Dragon Peaks where the great council of dragons gathered. He told them of the man who spoke with no fear. The elders dismissed it. A madman, nothing more. But Varix couldn't forget that moment. He started flying over the human lands, unseen, watching them rebuild what dragons destroyed. He saw them share food, care for the injured, bury their dead with honor. Even in ruin, they kept going. He began to wonder, what makes them rise again and again? The other dragons didn't understand. They only saw weakness. To them, strength was fire, wings, and power. But Varix started to see something else. Something quiet, something strong in a different way. One night, a new war began. A massive dragon army prepared to wipe out the last human city. A city where Elias had fled. Varix tried to stop them. "They have no armies left," he said. "They are broken. Why destroy what cannot fight back?" But the elder dragons silenced him. "They must know their place. We burn them tomorrow." Varix hesitated. His heart battled between loyalty and something strange, respect. That night, as the dragons slept, he flew down from the mountains and landed outside the human city. The guards ran in fear, pointing their torches at him. "I come not to fight," Varix said softly. "Where is Elias Kane?" Inside the city walls, Elias heard the voice and went out to face it. Even injured and weak, he stood tall. Varix bowed his head slightly, a dragon bowing to a man. "I need your help," he said. Elias blinked in disbelief. "You? A dragon? Asking a human for help?" Varix nodded. "If the others burn this city, it will not end with humans. Dragons will destroy themselves too. They do not understand what I have seen in you." Elias stared at him for a long time. The world had gone mad. A dragon speaking like a friend. But something in Varix's eyes told him the truth. Maybe, just maybe, this was real. And that night, under the blood-red moon, a strange alliance was born. A human soldier and a dragon who dared to question his own kind. Neither of them knew that what they did next would change dragon history forever. The night was cold and quiet when Elias Kane and Varix faced each other across the empty field outside the ruined city. The fires had burned down to glowing embers, and the smell of smoke still hung heavy in the air. Varix lowered his great head so that his golden eyes met Elias's. For a long time, neither spoke. They both knew that whatever they decided tonight could change the fate of two worlds, human and dragon alike. Elias's hands shook slightly as he kept his distance. Every story he had ever heard about dragons spoke of death, not mercy. Yet here stood one before him, calm and strange, asking for help. Varix's voice rumbled softly through the air. "The elders will attack at dawn. They mean to burn everything that still breathes. I cannot stop them alone. Elias frowned, anger flashing across his tired face. Then why not let them? He asked bitterly. You think I still care what happens to the world that destroyed my family? His voice cracked at the end, but he didn't look away. Varix blinked slowly. Because hatred cannot build anything, he said. I have watched your kind. Even when you are broken, you rebuild. You care for each other. That is something dragons have forgotten. Elias looked at the dragon for a long moment, his heart torn between fury and disbelief. He wanted to scream that dragons had taken everything from him. But deep inside, something about the dragon's tone felt real honest. It wasn't the voice of an enemy. It was the voice of someone who had seen too much destruction and wanted to stop it. Finally, Elias took a step forward. What do you want me to do? He asked quietly. Varix's wings shifted slightly, stirring the dust around them. There is a way to reach the Dragon Council before dawn, he said. But no dragon will let me go alone. If I bring a human with me, one who can speak truth, they might listen. Maybe they will see what I have seen. Elias almost laughed. You want me to talk to your kind? They'll tear me apart before I say a word. Varix's eyes glowed faintly. They will if they see fear. But if they see courage, they might listen. The idea was madness, Elias thought. To walk into the heart of dragon power, surrounded by creatures who hated his kind, was like stepping into fire. But then he remembered the faces of his people, the children hiding in the ruins, the ones still hoping for dawn. Maybe this was the only chance they had. Slowly he nodded. Fine, he said. I'll go. But if I die, make sure it means something. A small, almost human smile crossed Varix's face. It will, he promised. The dragon lowered his body, allowing Elias to climb onto his back. The scales were warm, pulsing faintly with power beneath his hands. As Varix spread his wings, the ground trembled. The night wind roared past them as they lifted into the air. Below, the sleeping city became smaller and smaller until it vanished into the fog. Elias felt fear rise in his chest, but also something else. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. As they flew toward the mountains, Varix spoke again, his voice almost lost in the wind. The other dragons will sense us. They will not welcome you. But remember this, do not show hate. Speak from the heart. That is what makes humans strong. Elias nodded silently. He didn't know if he could do it, but he would try. When they reached the dragon peaks, dawn was already painting the horizon with fire. The shadows of huge dragons moved across the cliffs, their roars echoing through the valley. Elias had never felt so small in his life. Varix landed on a stone platform before a massive gate carved into the mountain. Behind it, the Dragon Council waited. The air felt heavy with ancient power. This is where it begins, Varix said softly. Elias stepped down from the dragon's back, his boots touching the cold stone. He looked up at the gate, heart pounding, and took a deep breath. He didn't know if the dragons would listen or kill him where he stood. But he was ready. For the first time since his world had fallen apart, Elias Kane was not afraid. The great gates began to open. A burning light spilled out, and the human walked forward into the heart of dragonkind. The massive gates opened with a sound like thunder, echoing across the cliffs. Elias shielded his eyes from the blinding light that poured out. Inside, the Dragon Council chamber glowed with fire and gold. Pillars of molten stone rose high into the shadows, and between them sat the oldest and most powerful dragons in existence. Their eyes burned like stars. Their scales shimmered in every color of flame. Elias had never seen anything so terrifying. Each dragon was the size of a fortress, their wings folded like mountains of steel. When he stepped inside, their roars shook the air. A human? One thundered, his voice deep enough to make the walls tremble. You bring a human into the sacred hall, Varix? Varix bowed low, lowering his wings in respect. Yes, Elder Pirith, he said. This human has something to say. You should hear him before the flames fall upon the innocent. Laughter rumbled through the chamber, dark, cruel laughter. Hear him? Another dragon sneered. What can a creature of dust teach us? They fight, they burn, they die. That is all. Elias stood silent, his heart racing. He wanted to run, but he didn't. He looked up at the dragons, his voice shaking only slightly when he spoke. If that's what you think, he said, then you've never truly looked at us. The laughter faded. Dozens of dragon eyes turned toward him. The smallest sound in the chamber was like thunder. Elias swallowed hard, then stepped forward. You think we're weak because we die easily, but you're wrong. Strength isn't about fire or wings. It's about standing back up every time the world breaks you. You burn cities, we rebuild them. You kill our families, we remember them. That's what makes us strong. A low growl rolled through the room. Some dragons hissed. Others whispered in disbelief. One of the elders leaned forward, smoke curling from his jaws. You dare speak of strength, little creature? Elias met his burning gaze. Yes, he said quietly, because I've lost everything, and still I'm here. Can any of you say the same? For a moment, silence filled the air. Even Varix watched in awe. The dragons were not used to being challenged, especially not by a human. But the truth in Elias's words struck something deep, something buried under centuries of pride. Finally, the oldest dragon, Elder Pirith, rose to his full, terrifying height. His voice was heavy and ancient. You speak with courage, he said. But courage does not change the law. The human race has broken our skies, stolen our gold, and slaughtered our kind for greed. Why should we forgive them? Elias hesitated. He could feel the heat building around him, the air itself trembling. He didn't know if his words would save him or destroy him. Then he said, because forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. Every time you destroy, you lose a piece of what you were meant to be. You were born from the stars, weren't you? Then act like it. The chamber fell silent. Not even the flames moved. Varix looked at the council and spoke. He's right, he said. We call ourselves eternal, yet we fear change. We claim wisdom, yet we have none. This human shows more strength than all of us combined. The dragons began to argue, their voices rising like storms. Some wanted to listen. Others demanded blood. Sparks filled the air as their anger grew. Elias stood his ground, even when one dragon slammed its claws near him, sending cracks through the floor. Enough! Elder Pirith roared. The ground shook. Every dragon went silent. His golden eyes stared at Elias. If you believe your words have truth, he said slowly, then prove it. Elias frowned. How? Pirith's tail curled like a burning river. A trial, he said. By dawn, the army will march to destroy your last city. If you can stop that war without raising a blade, then perhaps we will believe you. Fail, and your kind will be erased forever. Elias's heart pounded. You're sending me to die, he said. Or to save, Pirith replied. The choice is yours. The floor split open beneath him, and a gust of fiery wind pulled Elias backward. Varix caught him with one wing as the gates slammed shut behind them. The trial had begun. The mountain trembled as the great gates slammed behind Elias and Varix. The air was heavy with smoke, and the roar of dragons echoed far above them. Elias's heart pounded so hard it hurt. He had faced death before, but never like this. This wasn't just about his life. It was about every human left alive. The council's challenge was clear. Stop the war by dawn without using a weapon. A single mistake and humanity would be gone forever. Varix lowered his head beside him, his voice deep and steady. They will test you, Elias. The trial of fire is not just a battle. It is a measure of spirit. You cannot fight them with strength. You must make them see. Elias looked up at the dragon's glowing eyes. How do I make them see when all they understand is fire? Varix hesitated, his wings twitching. By doing what dragons cannot, showing mercy even when you burn. They took flight again, rising into the cold night. Below them, the last human city shimmered faintly with torchlight. Families hid in the ruins, preparing for the dawn they feared would never come. Above, The sky cracked open with the beating wings of hundreds of dragons gathering for war. The sight was terrifying, an ocean of flame and shadow stretching across the heavens. When they landed near the city's edge, Elias saw human soldiers gathering broken weapons, ready to defend what little remained. The people froze when they saw Varix land, a dragon standing beside a man. Arrows were drawn, shouts filled the air, but Elias raised his hand. "Wait, he's with us." The crowd hesitated, confused. A child peered from behind a crumbling wall, staring in awe at the dragon's golden scales. An old captain stepped forward, his voice rough. "You've lost your mind, Cain. That thing killed half our people last month." Elias didn't argue. He stood tall and spoke with calm strength. "If we fight them, we die. If we hate them, we stay broken. But if we forgive, we might live." The captain spat on the ground. "Forgive? You think mercy will stop fire?" Elias looked toward the sky, where the dragons circled like thunderclouds. "It stopped one," he said quietly, nodding at Varix. "And maybe that's enough." As dawn began to rise, the first roar tore through the sky. The dragon army was coming. The humans prepared for death, and Elias felt fear coil in his stomach. But he didn't run. He walked into the open field between the two armies, alone. No armor, no sword, just his voice and his courage. The earth shook as the dragons descended, wings spreading like a storm. Fire built in their throats. The elder leading them, a massive red dragon named Draverth, sneered. "You again, human? You stand here to beg?" Elias raised his voice. "No, I stand here to ask you to stop." The dragons roared with laughter. "Stop? After what your kind has done?" Draverth spat a burst of flame that scorched the ground near Elias's feet. "You deserve nothing but ashes." Elias didn't move. The fire's heat burned his face, but he stood firm. "Maybe you're right," he said, his voice steady. "Maybe we deserve the flames. But burning us won't make you strong. It'll just make you like us at our worst. You think you're teaching us a lesson? You're teaching yourselves to hate." The field went silent. Even the wind paused. Varix watched from above, his heart pounding. He could feel the rage in the other dragons, but also hesitation. The humans' words echoed like thunder through their minds. For the first time in ages, some of them felt shame. Draverth growled low, unsure. "You speak bravely, little one, but your words cannot stop fire." Elias looked up at him, eyes bright with tears and fury. "Then burn me. But know this, when the flames fade, my words will still remain. Because truth doesn't die in fire." The air shimmered. Draverth inhaled, ready to unleash his fire. Varix leapt between them, spreading his wings wide. "Enough!" he roared. "If you burn him, you burn me too." Gasps rippled through the dragons. One of their own protecting a human? It was unthinkable. The army hesitated. The flames died down. Varix looked back at Elias and said quietly, "You have done what no dragon could. You made them doubt." The sun broke over the horizon, casting light on the battlefield. For the first time in centuries, no fire fell from the sky. The dragons turned and flew back toward the peaks, their roars uncertain, confused. Elias dropped to his knees, shaking. He had survived. Humanity had survived, for now. But he knew this was not the end. The council would not stay silent after this defiance. Varix looked toward the rising sun. "You passed the first test," he said. "But the war inside their hearts has only begun." The morning sun rose over the silent battlefield. Smoke drifted in slow waves across the valley, but there was no sound of war, no clash of steel, no cries of the dying. The dragons had left. Humanity was alive. Yet the air felt heavy, as if peace itself was holding its breath. Elias sat on the cold ground, staring at the horizon. His body trembled from exhaustion, and his throat burned from the smoke. Around him, the humans slowly came out of hiding. Children peeked from behind walls, soldiers lowered their weapons, and mothers cried in disbelief. For the first time in years, the sky was clear. Varix stood nearby, his golden scales dim under the morning light. His eyes were filled not with pride, but with worry. "They will not forgive me for what I did," he said quietly. Elias turned to him, confused. "You stopped a war. You saved lives." The dragon shook his great head. "To the council I betrayed my kind. I chose humans over dragons. There is no greater sin." Elias frowned, his heart heavy. "Then we'll stand together. If they come, we'll face them." Varix looked at him sadly. "You don't understand. They won't come for you. They'll come for me." Before Elias could answer, the wind shifted. A deep roar rolled down from the mountains, shaking the earth. The humans panicked, running for cover. Elias looked up and saw 3 enormous shapes descending through the clouds. Dragons, wings spread wide, fire burning in their throats. Varix's voice dropped low. "The enforcers of the council. They've come for judgment." The ground cracked as the dragons landed, their claws sinking into the earth. The leader, a black-scaled giant named Morith, fixed his burning eyes on Varix. "You have broken the law," he thundered. "You stood against your brothers. You shielded a human from fire." Varix stood tall, unflinching. "I did what was right," Morith growled. "Right? You call betrayal right?" His tail lashed the ground, splitting the stone. "You have one choice. Return with us and face the council's punishment, or burn here beside your pet human." Elias stepped forward, shouting over the roaring wind. "He saved your world. You're blind if you can't see that." Morith turned his gaze toward him, smoke rising from his jaws. "Be silent, mortal. You speak where gods rule." But Elias didn't stop. He looked up, eyes fierce. "Then maybe your gods need to learn what it means to be human." For a moment no one moved. Then, with a growl of fury, Morith struck. His massive claw swept across the field, and Elias barely dodged the blow. The ground exploded where he had been standing. Varix roared and leapt between them, his wings spreading like shields. "Enough!" He blasted a stream of golden flame at Morith, forcing him back. The other dragons joined the fight, surrounding Varix. Fire clashed against fire. Lightning tore through the sky. Elias ran toward the ruins, shouting orders. "Get everyone underground. Now!" The humans obeyed, vanishing into tunnels beneath the city. Above them, the dragons fought like living storms. Varix was strong, but he was outnumbered. He struck one dragon down, but another tore across his wing, sending him crashing into the valley floor. His body hit the ground with a thunderous crack. Elias ran to him, coughing through the smoke. "Varix, get up!" The dragon turned his head weakly, blood and ash on his scales. "You must go," he whispered. "They won't stop until I'm gone." Elias shook his head. "I won't leave you." Varix looked at him, his golden eyes soft. "You already gave them hope. Don't waste it now." He tried to rise, but Morith landed before them, fire swirling in his jaws. "This ends now," the black dragon hissed. Elias stood in front of Varix, spreading his arms wide. "Then you'll have to go through me." Morith's eyes narrowed. "So be it." He unleashed a river of fire. The world turned red and white. Elias closed his eyes, waiting for the end, but it never came. When he opened them again, he saw Varix's massive wing covering him, blackened by flame. The dragon had shielded him again. Smoke filled the air. Morith growled, raising his head for another strike. But then a horn echoed from the mountains. The council was calling their warriors back. The enforcers turned, furious but obedient, and took to the sky. Elias knelt beside Varix, his eyes burning with tears. "You saved me again." Varix's breathing was slow, weak. "Not for me," he whispered. "For what you might become." The humans came out of hiding, gathering around the wounded dragon. For the first time, they didn't see a monster, they saw a protector. As the sun set, Elias sat beside Varix, watching the mountains. He knew the dragons would return. The council wouldn't stop until they erased this act of mercy from their history. But Elias made a silent promise. He would not let that happen. For the first time, a dragon had fought for humanity, and now a human would fight for dragons. Night fell heavy across the valley. The fires had burned out, leaving only glowing embers and the low hum of distant thunder. Varix lay wounded, his once brilliant scales darkened with ash. His breaths came slow and deep, each one sounding like a storm trying to stay alive. Beside him sat Elias, silent, watching the stars shimmer faintly above the smoke. The humans had begun to rebuild again, patching walls, tending to the injured. But the peace was thin, fragile, like glass ready to crack. Everyone knew the dragons would return. Not just the enforcers this time, but the full wrath of the council. Elias clenched his fists, his mind racing. "We can't wait for them to come back," he muttered. "They'll destroy everything. I have to go to them." Varix stirred weakly, turning one golden eye toward him. "You would walk into the heart of the storm again?" he asked softly. Elias nodded. "You said once that dragons had forgotten what it means to rise again. Then I'll remind them." The dragon exhaled slowly, smoke curling from his nostrils. "If you go, they will kill you. Humans are not welcome in their world." Elias looked up at him, his voice steady. "Then I'll go as more than human." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Varix gave a faint, almost tired smile. "There is an ancient path," he said, "a way to reach the council's hall unseen. But it passes through the Valley of Echoes, where the dead dragons whisper to those who walk it. Few survive." Elias rose to his feet. "Then that's the path I'll take." Varix tried to stop him, but Elias placed a hand on his warm scales. "You've already risked everything for me. Rest now. I'll finish what you started." The dragon's gaze softened. "Elias Kane," he said quietly, "when the stars look down, may they see you not as prey, but as their equal." Elias turned away, his heart heavy yet burning with purpose. He began the journey at dawn. The valley behind him was quiet, still waking from fear. The mountains loomed ahead like black teeth, sharp against the rising light. Each step into the mist felt heavier than the last. The air was colder here, and strange voices whispered in the wind, low, echoing murmurs in an ancient tongue. He passed broken dragon bones the size of ships, half buried in stone. Their empty eye sockets glowed faintly with blue fire. The voices grew louder. "Turn back, human. You do not belong here. The sky is not yours to touch." Elias stopped, heart pounding. The whispers circled him like a storm, but he stood firm. "Maybe not," he said quietly, "but it's mine to reach for." The blue fires flickered, then dimmed. The whispers faded, replaced by silence. The valley seemed to breathe with him, letting him pass. By nightfall, Elias reached the peak of the mountain. The Dragon Council's fortress stood before him, an enormous citadel carved from fire and stone, its towers glowing like molten suns. Dozens of dragons circled above it, their roars shaking the sky. Elias stepped forward, gripping the token Varix had given him. A shard of golden scale, bright even in the dark. It pulsed faintly with warmth, guiding him forward. He entered the great hall through a broken passage, each step echoing off the burning walls. Inside, the air shimmered with heat. Elder Pirith sat upon his throne of flame, surrounded by the other council members. Their eyes turned to the intruder, one small figure standing against the fire. The hall erupted in fury. "A human? Here again. Blasphemy! Kill him!" But Pirith raised his claw, silencing them all. "You should not have returned," he said slowly. Elias met his gaze. "You gave me a trial to stop the war without fighting. I did that, but your dragons attacked anyway." Pirith's eyes narrowed. "You broke the balance. You made Varix forget who he was." Elias stepped closer. "No, I made him remember. You call him a traitor because he showed mercy. But that mercy saved you all from becoming monsters." A low rumble filled the hall. The dragons shifted uneasily, their anger fighting with doubt. Elias could feel their eyes burning into him, weighing his every word. He took another step forward. "You think we're weak because we die. But every time we die, someone else stands up. That's how we win. Not with fire, but with heart. Pirithous' claws scraped against the stone. You speak boldly, human, but boldness does not change law. Elias looked up, his voice rising. Then maybe your law needs to be broken. The hall went still. The flames dimmed, as if the world itself held its breath. And then, without warning, the sky outside roared with a deafening sound. Dragons screamed in confusion as a golden light burst over the mountains. Elias turned toward the open gate, eyes wide. It was Varix. His wounds still fresh, his wings torn, but his fire burned brighter than ever. He had come. The sky split open with golden fire as Varix descended from the clouds. His roar echoed across the mountains like thunder from the heavens. The dragons guarding the citadel scattered in shock, their wings trembling in his storm of light. His scales burned brighter than the sun, each one shining with fierce defiance. Inside the council hall, the dragons rose to their feet, fury and disbelief filling the air. Elder Pirithous' eyes widened. He dares return, he growled. He was marked for death. Varix landed hard upon the platform, stone cracking beneath him. Smoke and fire swirled around his massive frame. Elias shielded his face from the heat as Varix lifted his head. His voice calm but unshaken. You called me traitor, he said, his tone carrying through the hall. But I am not the one who forgot what it means to be dragon. The chamber filled with murmurs. The younger dragons looked uncertain. Pirithous' tail slammed against the floor, silencing them. You have broken our law. You've knelt before a lesser creature. Varix turned his gaze toward Elias, then back at the council. Then perhaps your law is the true weakness. A shocked silence followed. No one had ever spoken to the elders that way. Varix stepped forward, his wings spreading wide, glowing like banners of molten gold. We were born from the stars, he said, but we have lived in darkness, feeding on pride. These humans, we called them weak, but they build when we destroy. They rise when we fall. Tell me, elders, which of us truly deserves the sky? The words struck deep. The chamber trembled, not from fire, but from something new, doubt. Elias stepped forward beside Varix, his voice steady but burning with passion. You think mercy is weakness, but mercy is the reason your kind still breathes. Varix saved you from yourselves. A growl rolled through the hall. Enough, Pirith roared. Flames burst from his jaws as he rose, towering above them all. If the world must change, then it will change in fire. He unleashed a torrent of flames straight toward Elias. Varix moved faster than sight. His wings folded around Elias like shields of gold, taking the full force of the inferno. The impact shook the mountain. For a long, endless moment, there was only light and fire. When the flames died, the hall was silent. Smoke drifted through the air. Varix collapsed to one knee, his scales cracked and glowing faintly. Elias stumbled out from behind him, his face covered in ash. Varix! He shouted, running to the dragon's side. Varix turned his head weakly, his voice little more than a whisper. Do not weep for me, Elias. This was my choice. The dragons stared in stunned silence. Never before had one of their own given his life for a human. Never before had they seen such courage from either species. Elder Pirithous' flames flickered out. His gaze fell to the floor. Around him, the other dragons lowered their heads one by one. The sound of their chains of pride breaking was almost audible. Pirith spoke at last, his voice heavy. You have shown us something we forgot long ago. Perhaps the stars favor those who forgive. He turned his eyes to Elias. What will you do now, human? Elias looked at the broken dragon before him, his throat tight. I'll finish what he started, he said quietly. No more burning, no more hate, just peace. Pirith nodded slowly. Then let it be written, he said. From this day, the war between dragon and man ends. The hall erupted in low roars, not of rage, but of respect. The dragons bowed their massive heads toward the fallen Varix, their breath forming clouds of golden mist. For the first time in ages, there was no fire in their eyes, only sorrow and awe. Elias placed his hand against Varix's warm, fading scales. "You changed them," he whispered. "You changed everything." The dragon smiled faintly. "No, Elias. We did." Then, with one final breath, his body turned into a stream of golden light that rose into the sky. The light swirled among the clouds and vanished among the stars. The dragons outside lifted their heads and roared in unison. A sound not of war, but of honor. The sound carried across mountains, across valleys, across the world. From that day on, no dragon ever called humanity weak again. And the story of Varix the Golden and Elias Cain, the human who defied the sky, was passed down for generations, not as a tale of war, but as the day a dragon learned to forgive.